So this is my analysis of one of my games for the analysis exercise. For this game, I chose Carcassonne. It's published by Z-Man, and the game's designer is Klaus-Jürgen Wrede. I played the game a few months ago, 18th of September, with my best friends Mike and Inka. I'll first explain a bit about how the game works. In the game, you get tiles and meeples, and you can place the tiles on the board adjacent to other tiles. As you can see, you have city tiles and grass tiles and road tiles. What you can't see here is, oh yeah, there is as you can see, and there's monastery tiles. As you can see, you can place meeples on tiles, on the roads, in cities, on the grass, or in the monasteries. And you, depending on what they are, there is a monk, a highway robber, such as that. The goal of the game is to place your meeples on tiles and then have as big as a space as you can finished. So the city's unfinished, you get points, but this city is finished, so you get points. Same for the highways and the grass for the farms and stuff. Each round you draw a tile, you can place it, and you can decide if you want to place a meeple or not. Now for the analysis, the story-driven part is not that big. It's mostly strategy, and it's not that abstract either. It does, however, mimic the real world quite well. The medieval setting and the conquering of land mimics the real world. The chance and the randomness is only down to the drawing of the pile, which is only a small part of the game. After you draw a tile, you can place it somewhere and put a meeple on it or not. Furthermore, the game is completely physical. There's nothing virtual about the game. And now the game dissection. The core agency is that the player can decide where to place the tile that he drew from the pile. Also, he can decide whether or not to place a meeple. The game progresses whenever an area is completed. Towards the end of the game, more tiles are placed, and the player is motivated to place the tiles even more strategically. For example, to finish his area so he can get points, or to know the other player so he won't get any points. He can't finish it, so he can't get any points. And as the more tiles are placed, it becomes harder to correctly strategically place tiles so you get the most points. The theme of the game is a medieval explore and conquer game. This means that you have tiles with cities, grass, roads, and monasteries on them, like I said before. And depending on where you place your meeple, you'll be a citizen, a farmer, a highway robber, or something. For the game itself, it does not matter too much that it's a medieval setting. It could easily be ported to a different setting, but it's nice as it is. The game makes use of thick carton tiles with images on them and wooden meeples. These objects are what the game revolves about. These objects are the main part of the strategy-based gameplay. Like said before, the player must decide where to place the tile and where or not to place a meeple on a tile. The target audience is almost everyone. The age limit is 8. The game is from 8 and up, and well, below that, I think it's hard to understand the core mechanics, but older than 8, it's not a super hard game to learn. It's harder to master, but easy to start with. When older people play with younger children, the older players may have an advantage because they have more experience in playing strategically. Other than that, the game is gender neutral and appealing to all cultures and ethnicities. The game is for 3 to 5 players, so the players can share the experience with other players. And the game is pretty well known, and many players are introduced to the game by friends or family. The game articulation. The goal of the game is to occupy as many tiles with meeples and through that get as many points as possible when the areas are finished. It takes about a half an hour to finish, maybe more if it's played competitively, and every player takes a long time to make a move. The rounds are not very long, and the time the game takes is not very important. You can just stop the game and count points if you have no time to finish the game. The game can be played at any larger table, making the game accessible for nearly everyone. As said before, the player and uses tiles and meeples and can choose to put them on the table. This is what gives the players agency. The progression of the game is measured by how many tiles there are left and how many meeples every player still has. The rules for the core gameplay are that you have to place a tile next to another tile. The player can place a meeple on a tile if that tile is not connected to a tile with a meeple of another player. So if there's a city connected and there's already a meeple on one side of the city, you can place a meeple on the other side. But if it's disconnected, you can. Once a meeple is played, you cannot move it again. This way, every time a player puts a meeple down, you have one less to play. The player can annoy other players by placing tiles near their tiles so they cannot finish their cities, for example. This creates a competitive atmosphere. Now further of the game articulation. Your actions have a big impact on the game because the biggest part of the game is that you draw a card and then place it somewhere. It's your choice where to place it. Do you want to expand this field or this city, or do you want to finish the city maybe? Play it safe. And place a meeple on it. The chance is not very, very big. It's just which tile you draw. The choices are quite interesting. It's a simple choice, so to speak, but there's a lot of possibilities for you to do. I mean, the choice is where to put it, but there are many, many possibilities and many strategies involved with each choice. And that makes the goal of the game quite interesting. Yeah, the player must take action quite often. The rounds are not very long usually, therefore you have to take action a lot and also make a lot of choices. Every round the player can choose to finish a city or finish a plane, a grass plane, and therefore each time you can choose a new goal. Let's finish this city, let's finish that city. It's quite clear when you've taken action, the board, if you will, expands every time. So the more tiles put down, you can actually see the map growing. It's quite clear how you have to do the actions, what the choices are. Well, where do you put it? And the goal of the game is quite clear too, to get as many points as you need. As again, game articulation, gameplay experience this time. As the game takes 30 minutes to properly play out. Usually, the player doesn't need to focus that long, and the player needs basic strategy capabilities. Also, the player should be able to place the tiles and meeples physically on the board. And the play states. Anticipation is kinda high, so to speak. Every time the tile is drawn, every time you draw a tile, you get like, will I be able to finish this city, or will I be able to annoy my competitor? The surprise is not that high. Of course, it's what card or tile you draw, and where the other playing is putting it, but the rest is up to you. It's a quite fun game. It gives you a lot of satisfaction if you can put a tile down that finishes your grass plane or annoy the other player. The game is quite easy to understand, but quite hard to master. To do it correctly, you have to really think strategically. It's easy to just place tiles. It's hard to place them to get the best score in the end. As the failure is only at the end of the game, you're not really stressed out during the game, and it's easy to gain composure. It's just a series of strategic moves before you get results, really. The results are only at the end of the game. It does, however, feel kind of rewarding to finish a city. As for the gameplay, it's competition, chance, skill, and some part of discovery. Competition because you're playing against other players and you have to get the highest score. Chance because you have to draw a tile, and that's of course chance. And skill because you have to see and understand the board and see and understand strategies to get the best points. Discovery because you discover the board as it's being made up every time the board expands and new things get visible and stuff. So yeah, that is it for my first analysis.